on Gaza and the aid situation, which does not seem to have improved significantly at all since last week and your announcement last week. What's the latest on that?
So we have seen the situation improve, though to see the actual realization of all of those improvements, we do think will take some time. But we have seen the government of Israel take additional steps. They voted last week to allow 250 trucks per day in, and then in addition, the Prime Minister instructed the Minister of Defense to make every effort to get that level of daily truck deliveries up to 350, which is the number that we called for in the letter. As you know, they now have 5 crossings open. They reopened a crossing that had been closed. They opened a new crossing, things that we called for. They restarted the Jordan Air Force's corridor, something that we had called for. They removed 30 items from the dual-use restricted list, something that we had called for in the letter on behalf of a number of humanitarian organizations that had been calling for those steps to be taken. They restored deliveries to the north. They expanded the Mawasi humanitarian zone by 25%, something that we had called for in the letter. They are implementing the UN's plan to prepare for winter, which includes things like repairing roads, facilitating the entry of winter-specific aid, vaccinations for winter-specific diseases. And so we have seen them take a number of steps, some of which have been public, some of which they have communicated to us, and I'm making public now. And it will take some time to see whether those actually translate to what they're supposed to translate to, which is more humanitarian assistance making it into Gaza, and then more humanitarian assistance making it to the actual people inside Gaza that need to get it. And that's what we're committed to seeing take place over the coming weeks.
The situation is devastating and frankly beyond comprehension, and is getting worse, not better. Winter's here. Famine is imminent. And 400 days into this war, it is totally unacceptable that it's harder than ever to get aid into Gaza. In October, just 37 humanitarian trucks entered the Strip each day. It's the lowest average in the last year. The situation in northern Gaza is a nightmare of disease, destruction, and despair. Over 300 aid workers have now been killed. It's the highest number in UN history. Amongst them are 3 British nationals whose families yearn for justice. More children have been killed in any recent conflict anywhere in the world. And meanwhile, Hamas still cruelly holds onto the hostages, including British national Emily Damari, extending their family's torment even further. In the West Bank, an environment of impunity exists for extremist settlers. And since October the 7th, conflict has spread, engulfing, of course, Lebanon. We must bring this multi-front conflict to an end. There is no excuse for Hamas hostage-taking. They need to be set free. There's no excuse for Israeli restrictions on humanitarian aid. They need to be lifted. And there's no excuse for violations of international humanitarian law. It needs to be respected by all sides.
Colleagues, I won't mince words. The situation in the Middle East requires an urgent diplomatic solution. For more than a year, we've seen devastating civilian suffering in Israel and Gaza, the West Bank and Lebanon, and we've seen upheaval and unprecedented attacks by Iran and its proxies. Against this backdrop, the United States has exercised leadership and resolve in pursuing clear objectives in the war in Gaza. In the war in Gaza by securing the release of hostages while surging aid to Palestinians who did not start and cannot end this conflict. Avoid a broader regional war while forcefully countering Iran's terrorist proxies and destabilizing activities and demonstrating an ironclad, unprecedented commitment to Israel's security. And press for the full implementation of the Council's resolutions, including Resolution 1701. These remain the United States' objectives, and we do see a path to achieving them. Secretary Blinken has stated it is time to end the war, and he is committed to doing everything possible to achieve that. Israel accomplished the goal it set out for itself, dismantling Hamas's military organization and eliminating Hamas's leadership responsible for October 7th. Now we need to ensure the hostages come home and that Hamas does not return to power. Of course, despite public claims to the contrary, Hamas has refused to engage on any of the numerous proposals put forward in the past 8 weeks. Indeed, Qatar has expressed its frustration at Hamas's unwillingness to engage seriously. Still, we will not give up on this diplomacy. As we press for an end to the war, Israel must also urgently take additional steps to alleviate the catastrophic humanitarian situation in Gaza. The United States has been specific about what exactly Israel must do to improve the situation for Palestinian civilians. We're closely tracking Israel's actions in this regard and engaging with its leaders every single day. And there has been some progress. Israel is currently working to implement 12 of the 15 steps we have outlined. Still, we need to see all steps fully implemented and sustained. And we need to see concrete improvement in the humanitarian situation on the ground. That includes Israel allowing commercial trucks to move into Gaza alongside humanitarian assistance. This is crucial to avoiding famine. We also need Israel to address persistent lawlessness so that the hundreds of trucks of aid arriving at crossing points into Gaza can reach people in need. Most significantly, we need real and extended pauses in fighting and combat in large areas of Gaza, again, so as to enable assistance to reach people in desperate need.